So again, thank you all for joining us today. A special thank you to our current students who are going to be sharing some of their advice and insights on the current student experience, as well as any tips that they have for the application process. So again, my name is Haley Pottle. I manage the student recruitment with the Institute of International Education, or IIE for short, as my background shows. And it's a pleasure to be able to support the Mohammed bin Zayed University of Artificial Intelligence and their really fantastic full scholarship programs specializing in artificial intelligence. So again, just for those who are joining with the recording, I will let Cici and Shahru briefly introduce themselves again, and then I'll share a brief presentation, and then we'll go into the questions, the Q&A with our current students. So Cici, go ahead, and then Shahru.
Hi again, everyone. Welcome to the session today. My name is Cici from Thailand, and I'm working for this IIE in the Southeast Asia. Thank you, students in my region, to join today. Hope you get useful information today. Thank you.
Hi, everybody. I'm Shakhrukh Makhkamjanov. I am responsible for the Russia, Ukraine, and Kazakhstan region, and I work for IIE in Russia, Moscow. Thank you.
Thank you, Cici. Thank you, Shahru. And again, we'll go through the brief presentation. I know we have students joining us with different levels of knowledge about MBZ and the program, so we just want to make sure everybody is on the same page with the basic information for the program. And then again, we'll go into the Q&A with students and have those students, again, briefly introduce themselves. So I'm going to go ahead and start sharing my screen here, so hopefully everybody can see it. All right. Okay, so again, today we're really excited to be able to share the master's and PhD scholarship opportunities with Mohammed bin Zayed University. And really, this university is an open invitation from Abu Dhabi in the UAE to unleash the full potential of AI in the world. We say that because this is actually the first university in the world that is graduate level research-based in AI. The UAE is really in a strategic position to be able to host this university, as they also hosted the world's first AI summit. And the UAE really is a open ground and testbed for AI innovations. This really fits into the UAE's national and international goals to really position AI as a focus for their vision. And again, this strategic kind of note in having the university in UAE is really, really exciting, because it truly is a global hub for people from all around the world. The UAE is home to more than 200 nationalities, and over 40 are represented in the student body alone. So again, we have every region of the world represented, so you get to learn and work and study alongside people from all across the globe, and the faculty and staff are also representative from many, many regions. And you can definitely see that the UAE, and specifically Abu Dhabi, is definitely an economic hub. There's a lot of things happening with sustainability, even self-driving cars. Sometimes there are misconceptions about the Middle East and that experience, and Abu Dhabi has been awarded as one of the safest cities in the world for 4 consecutive years. So again, I know that students will be able to share about their experiences living in the region. I myself have had the pleasure to live and work in UAE, and it's been a really positive experience. So don't hesitate to ask if you have questions about that experience. I know we have a prospective student who's actually also living in the UAE, so maybe they can share as well. But you can definitely see that the UAE has a really interesting AI strategy that focuses on a variety of key sectors. So again, depending on what your interest is, there's definitely a space for that. And you'll see in a few slides how that's really reflective in MBZ's objectives and mission as well. So again, the diversity, the mix of cultures, it being a safe city really has a lot to offer. This is a video that we're going to skip just for time. And you guys can watch it on your own time following. It's really a great overview of the university and what it has to offer. So one note I want to provide to our prospective students who are on the call and watching after, again, if and when you decide to apply, me and our team are really here to help you every step of the way. So in terms of getting ahead and initiating the application, making sure you have all your documents and you're positioning yourself in the best way possible, we're really here to help you in that process. And then if and when, hopefully, that you are accepted and admitted, we provide pre-departure orientations. We make sure that you are well set up and positioned to be able to enter into this amazing experience. So again, once you decide to apply, we are here to support you, and we want to make sure that you are successful in every step of the application process. So again, I'm going to go through these slides a little bit briefly, just because there's a lot of amazing information you can dig in following the session once you get these slides. But I really just want to highlight how prestigious our Board of Trustees are. We have Professor Sir Michael Bradley, who comes from the University of Oxford. He's truly a leader in the field. We also have Dr. Lee, who's the president of Google China, and he's been a senior executive at top technology companies. We also have, for those of us who are joining in from North America, we have board members who are joining us from Michigan State University, from really all around the world, and they bring their own kind of levels of expertise and knowledge to the university. This is our president of MBZ, Dr. Eric. He joins us from Carnegie Mellon University in the US, and he also got his PhD from University of California. He's really an incredible leader to be able to really support the amazing innovations happening at the university. I know we have a student from joining us from Canada as well. We have the provost who represents the University of Waterloo. So again, we have a lot of really dynamic figures at play here. Many amazing faculty members who are joining us from all parts of the globe. Most recently, we welcome Professor Michael Jordan, who also joined us from the University of California. And again, another great leader in the AI STEM fields. Just ask that you guys mute yourself. If you are not speaking, that would be great. Thanks. So MBZ really does have a clear vision, mission, and objectives in terms of really wanting to harness the potential of AI across sectors. So again, you can kind of dig into this in your own time, but what's exciting about the UAE is there's definitely a focus on being able to take these concepts and this knowledge and really implement them in real world problems. So kind of getting into, okay, what's actually offered, what's the potential for me here? There's a couple of different program offerings that you can consider for master's and PhD. So for both of these, they have a couple of different specializations in AI. You can look at computer vision, you can look at machine learning or natural language processing, and that's going to be available for both the master's and the PhD programs. In terms of admission criteria, a couple of things for you to keep in mind is if you're interested in the master's program, the requirements for eligibility require a bachelor's degree in the STEM field. You're going to see these are examples of some. Again, you definitely want to make sure that you're going to have something that's a relevant background. But again, it's pretty open in terms of what that can be. We have students who come with a mathematics background, computer science, engineering, a variety of things. In addition, we recommend to be competitive. You have a GPA of at least 3.2. If you are a native English speaker, the language proficiency is waived, but obviously if that is not the case, as everything is conducted in English, we just want to make sure that we're seeing the English language ability reflected through valid certificates of different English language tests that you can take. Again, if you have taken the test in the last 1 to 2 years, feel free to use those results as that's still going to be valid. And again, it's one of those things we know with COVID, there are often barriers to be able to set up those appointments, get those tests done. So please feel free to go ahead and initiate your application. And depending on what the time frame is for the test, you can even submit your application and submit those documents later and just indicate that on your application as well. Another great note is that the GRE, the graduate record examination, is a optional. It is definitely a plus for your application, but you do not need to have that to submit, which is great. For the PhD programs, there's a couple of different tracks that you can take. One of them is, again, having that bachelor's and master's degree related in STEM. Again, similar GPA and language requirements. And again, that graduate record examination is also a plus. However, if you have a bachelor's degree and you're just super excited to go ahead and get that doctorate and really want to have that experience, you can also apply in that track with just the bachelor's degree. However, in that case, again, we would really recommend at least a 3.5 GPA to be competitive, and the GRE would be required at that point. And there's some expectations in terms of what the results of that exam would be. A couple other notes I just want to point out about the application is what's great is you're applying for both admissions and the scholarship at the same time. You're not having to submit 2 applications. So it's really exciting and streamlined in that way. Another note as well is a couple other aspects of the application is submitting a statement of purpose, which is about 800 words, pretty standard for a graduate school application. The PhD applicants will also need to provide a research statement. 3 letters of recommendation are needed. And again, this can be a combination of former professors, former supervisors. Again, we really just want people who can highlight who you are, your character, your knowledge and STEM abilities. The rest of the application process involves, if you pass the application portion, you will be invited for an admissions interview as well as taking an entry exam. And that's really just to ensure that since we have many students coming from around the world, many educational systems represented, everyone's coming in with a similar base knowledge of mathematics and basics to be able to succeed in the program. So again, I'm going to kind of very briefly go through these slides as we're going to hear from students, which is going to be way more interesting than me reading from these slides. But again, just wanting to highlight that there's really a diverse and international community on campus. There are world-class facilities and amenities. You can see here in this top picture, this is actually what the individual apartments look like that come as a part of your scholarship. And it really is a modern learning hub where you can gain lots and lots of resources and opportunities. You've already kind of heard me talk about the world-class faculty. You've heard about how great the facilities are, the variety of students on campus. And I definitely want to take some time to focus on the scholarship because obviously that's what's going to be really exciting for many of you. It really is unparalleled in a lot of ways to its offerings. The scholarship is inclusive of 100% of the tuition and fees for the duration of your program. So again, if you're a master's student, that's going to be for 2 years, and a PhD student, that's going to be for 4 years. In addition, there's a really generous monthly stipend. So again, that equates to over $2,000 USD for both the master's and the PhD. It's a little bit more for the PhD programs. That campus accommodation, which is an individual furnished apartment right on campus, is also included. So again, very generous in that way. Comprehensive health insurance is also provided, so that's not something you have to worry about, as well as annual round trip flights to and from Abu Dhabi. So it's not just getting you there, it's also allowing you to be able to visit your friends or your family on holidays. And finally, there's no post-graduation bonds. Often with these types of fellowships, there's an expectation that you'll live and work thereafter or that you'll give back in some way. And here, they're just providing you the scholarship, this amazing launch pad, and then you're free to go on and embark in your career as you see fit. There are excellent student services and a career center that are there to help you secure employment and have opportunities following graduation, but there's no expectations from the university side about what you'll do after. Again, you can see the highlight of students from around the world, male and female representation, regional representation, as well as locals from the UAE, as well as those who are international. Our students are achieving amazing things. We have a lot of resources to be able to provide students with opportunities to participate in international competitions, hackathons, conferences. Students are joining amazing initiatives and labs and getting research published. Again, there's lots of opportunities to grow and learn at the university, not just in the classroom, but outside to really develop your network. MBZ has amazing partnerships across categories from academic and corporate government. MIT is one of our kind of high profile academic partners, IBM. Again, this is really an amazing opportunity where students get internships or employment at these networks and can really learn a lot. So again, take a note here on this slide. This is a QR code that links directly to the application. The application did open in the fall. And what's really exciting for you all is we're just in January. The application is due in April. But again, we really encourage you to go ahead and initiate the application. It's a really easy process just to be able to kind of put in your demographic information, and then you can have access to the full application. And you can kind of see everything laid out in terms of how you need to organize your documents in order to be competitive. Really encourage you to kind of get that process started. And again, depending on what region you're from, you can contact me, Shahru, CC, we're there to help you. Again, this is my email here, and I'll drop that in the chat. CC and Shahru will also be able to drop their information in the chat in case you don't have it already. So feel free to take advantage of that. You're already ahead of the game in attending this session. Please stay tuned. We're going to be sharing, there's going to be some additional sessions that are more topic-based in February with current students, so you're welcome to join those as well. So I have shared a lot of information in a short amount of time here, and I also want to make sure that we have plenty of time to hear from our current students. So just stopping share there. And before we jump into the formal Q&A, I just want to see if anyone has any initial questions about the university or the program offerings or anything that I shared today. So feel free to unmute yourself or drop a question in the chat.
Hi, yes, I do have a question.
Please do.
Let me try to, okay. Thank you so much for your sharing, Katie. So I just wanted to ask a note on what you mentioned about the IELTS certificate. You said that it's fine if we submit, if we're running through the test right now and we submit it first and then provide the IELTS certificate later. But right now I see that the application actually has it as a red asterisk, meaning that it actually needs you to have that IELTS certificate at first before you can even submit anything. So you do the declaration thing, but you need to still have that one certificate. So just wondering, how do I go about that? Because I'd really like to see it soon.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you so much for making that note. I will check with my colleagues about that question, because again, the hope is on our end is that students who again have kind of that delay to get those results can still be able to submit their application and submit that later. So I think that's just something on the back end in terms of kind of switching off that requirement that we need to do. So thank you so much for bringing that to our attention. I will highlight that, but I would say even if you have again, I'll try to get you that answer. I'm making a note about it right now, but I would say even if you have old exam notes, and if you can somehow make a note of like, these are the previous ones, I'm going to be submitting updated ones, that I think would be a good course of action. But again, I've made a note about that. Thank you so much for raising that.
Because you mentioned that if you're from an English speaking background, it's not really necessary. So my whole bachelor's was a purely English program. It's pure English. Everything I've done is in English. So just wondering, does that carry any weightage?
Yeah, I would say if you would like to get, I can't totally answer that question without having a little bit more information about your background. Maybe Cece can answer as well, but I do know that if you were a non-native English speaker, they're definitely looking for that that proof. But Cece, feel free to add.
Yeah, they have this note come out that the people who can get waived on the English proficiency test need to have the nationality and the degree graduated from the 4 countries that I used to mention, the US, UK, Australia, and New Zealand. Unfortunately, even though we know that many countries you have English as your native speaking, like Canadian or like Malaysia, but still all the international students are required by the Ministry of Education of the UAE to take the English proficiency test. But it will be one good thing for you, because if you have the strong background in English, then you can get the high score on IELTS or TOEFL. Yeah, so thank you for the questions.
Thank you for the answer.
Awesome, thank you. Other questions? One question that just came in the chat, it would be necessary in academic or general will do. Can you elaborate a little bit more on that question, Janet?
Hi, Helen. I just want to know, I have a couple of years back, I gave a general academic IELTS and I got a score of 6.5. It's been a long time before. So right now I'm going to appear for IELTS. So it will take a little bit of time because as of now, COVID situation, I'm in quarantine.
Yes.
So will it be okay to submit that result and keep that I'll be updating it after getting the new test results? So will that be fine?
Yes.
And I need to, one more thing. I need to appear for academic or general. Please answer this as well. Thank you.
So go ahead, Cece.
IELTS academic. It has to be IELTS academic.
Yes. Okay, thank you. Yeah.
And TOEFL need to be TOEFL IBT, is the computer-based test, not the ITP. For the graduate school version.
Correct. Thank you. Thank you for clarifying that, Cece. Yes. And Janet, just to clarify as well. So again, you can definitely go ahead, submit what you currently have. Note that you're going to be having updated tests. There's like a delay due to COVID. We have had that conversation with admissions because we have many students who are in that predicament. So definitely don't worry about that. And I will also, continue to reiterate that as well. So thank you. Fantastic. Other questions that people have at this point before we dig into the Q&A? Great. Well,
Yeah, Heidi.
go ahead, please.
Yeah, one more, please. Actually, I have children, so I just want to know about the accommodation over there. So in the last video, I have checked that you have mentioned there are special accommodations for family as well. So is it so if application gets selected, so how is this process? Means how children are going to get accompanied with the student? I just want a broad idea about it. Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah. Thank you, Jenna. So yes, you are absolutely right from the last video that we hosted for the Q&A. We discussed this, and that is absolutely true. So for students who are accepted that have spouses as well as dependents, children, there are special accommodations for that. So they support you securing housing that's even off campus, where you can kind of have your own private living accommodation. So that way it's better accommodated for families. The living stipend is also increased if you have additional members of your family that you are supporting. So again, they kind of work on that on a case-by-case basis with the students, depending on how many children you have, if you have a spouse, that kind of thing. But they've successfully worked with students who have a spouse or have children. So again, that is definitely not a concern. If you're accepted, they want to support you in every step. So they're going to make sure your families are taken care of. And the UAE, and particularly Abu Dhabi, is really supportive and accommodating to families. And there are some really excellent schools nearby as well. So depending on the age of your children, that's definitely something that they support. And again, in terms of visa processing and all those things, they really help you every step of the way. So hope that gives you kind of a general overview, but they're very committed to supporting students with families.
Yeah, that's great. That's great. Thank you so much. Thank you so
No
much.
problem. Great. Any other questions before we dig in?
Yeah, one more, sorry.
Sure.
Regarding the application, I have completed almost 60%. So I just want somebody from the admin who can guide me so that my application won't get, means I need some reviews in order to get my application selected. Means as in the last video, you have mentioned that somebody can help us to guide us through the application for do's and don'ts, or whatever the issues or whatever the loopholes need to be work on, so that our application should be selected. So for the successful application, is there anybody from the admin who can help us out?
Absolutely. So again, can you remind me where you're from? You are living in the UAE currently, is that
UAE,
correct?
yeah.
Okay, great.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So again, I would say, depending on what your question is, you are welcome to obviously reach out to admissions. They're there to support you. I kind of support the global regions if needed. So again, you're welcome to reach out to me directly as well. I've been able to help support our students in their applications. So again, I'm going to drop the admissions email. So depending on kind of what your question involves, they might be the best one to ask. But again, if you're just looking for somebody to kind of provide some general feedback on your, application, I'm happy to do that as well. So again, I'll drop my email once more in the chat. You're welcome to reach out to me, as well as, of course, directly to admissions, depending on what your concerns or your questions are. So those are a couple of resources for you. Absolutely. Happy to support. So again, I think we're going to go ahead and jump into the Q&A, just because I want to be mindful of particularly our current students' time. So I'm going to jump us off with a question. So for our current students, if you're able to unmute, show camera, I think that would be excellent if possible. And then again, this is an open Q&A. So for any questions that are from our prospective students, we want to hear from you as well. So this is not just me asking questions. We really want to hear what questions that you have. So I'll just go ahead and kick us off. So I would love to hear from our two current students. How did you first learn about MBZUAI? Because I know everyone's kind of learning in different ways, from whether it's faculty or whether it's just something they found online. So I'd love to hear about how you learned about MBZ and then what made you really interested in applying. So maybe Abhishek, if you want to start us off and then kick it over to your colleague.
Yeah, thank you, Haley. So first I heard about this university from a government circular that directed me towards IIE only. And from there, I moved on to the application and the entire process.
And can you share a little bit about what made you excited about applying? What was it about the programs or otherwise that made you excited to look into it?
Definitely the scholarship made me excited about the program.
Yeah,
and
sure.
The wonderful faculty here and lots of opportunities for growth in the UAE. Those were the key factors.
Awesome. And maybe our other current student, if you'd like to jump in.
Yes, yes. So I heard about the university from social media. I guess it was like my friend forwarded me some message from like some group about like machine learning, and I went to the page. It was page on the IIE website. I read the page, and like if you ask like what made me excited about like application, for example, you don't need to pay any application fee. So like you're not losing anything by applying. For example, if you go for another institution in Europe, like the average application fee is like 100 euros. Some of them in Switzerland is like almost like 200 euros. There is here in MBZUAI, there is no application fee. Like you're not losing anything by applying even. So, and I already had all the documents and was like, okay, I'll just submit my documents and like, we'll see. But then of course, yeah, like the faculty member, faculty was amazing. So I was like very excited to apply my documents.
Great. Thank you so much for sharing. And yes, thank you so much for adding that point. I forgot to mention that earlier. There is literally no cost to apply. There's no fees associated with it. So it really is very easy to go ahead and submit that application. And again, you're applying for admissions and scholarship at the same time. So as someone who also went through the graduate school application process, that's very unusual. So definitely encourage you, even if you're a little bit interested, definitely submit an application, because there's no cost to apply, as well as it's very streamlined. So thank you for answering that. So I'd love to hear from both of you all. Maybe we can have you start, Kirill, since you've now been at MBZ. So again, there were things that are attractive to you when you applied, but now that you're on campus, you're studying, what has been the most impressive to you at this point? So in terms of what's been a big highlight, what has it been? The faculty, the location, course offerings? What's been kind of some of your top highlights so far as a student?
The top highlight is like the access to the top faculties, so you can actually make very high level research, and you can make submissions to like very, very top conferences on machine learning, computer vision, natural language processing. So you can literally like start working on the research from the very first semester, and for example, do something in 6 months, submit it to some very prestigious conference, and like maybe like you will have a decent chance so that like your paper will get accepted. And for that, like you can find before, like at the very beginning of the studying process, you'll be assigned a supervisor. There will be like a supervisor selection process, and you can find supervisor for probably like any like topic related to machine learning, whether it's like natural language processing, like general machine learning, computer vision, or maybe some other applications. And I think, yeah, for me the top highlight is like the access to the very high, like very knowledgeable faculty that can, teach you how to do research properly, and like you'll be able to achieve very high results, academic results. Yeah, course offerings. Yeah, the course offerings. The courses are gradually added, and I guess we'll have like more courses in the next semester. So I think, yeah, course offerings are also quite good.
Thank you. Thank you so much for sharing that. Abhishek, what about you?
Yeah, academics and faculty are definitely great things about here. And apart from that, I'd like to add about the social exposure you get. We have a cohort from over 40 nationalities, and that was quite overwhelming for me coming from a remote location in India. So yeah, that was one big thing. And like Kirill said, academics are great. The courses are being edited and constantly evolving for the needs according to the students and according to the industry. So that's one good thing. Yeah.
Wonderful. Thank you both for sharing. That's really great to hear. Abhishek, you touched on this very briefly, but would love to hear a little bit more from both of you all about the student life experience on campus. So again, being able to connect with students from around the world, what else is happening outside of the classroom in terms of ways to get involved and to meet people? Can you share a little bit about the student life experience?
Yes, so student life apart from the academics is really great because we meet regularly for like regular lunches or brunches with language and cultural exchanges. Apart from that, there are clubs for sports and boosting your mental health, and for different hobbies like arts and reading that you might have. So yeah, we meet regularly with sports, like there's a great gym and a multi-use hall here, which is open 24/7 almost. And we have like regular volleyball, football games where most of us gather. So yeah.
That's great. Thank you. Thank you for sharing. Kirill, do you have anything to add? And then I see Shahru has a hand raised.
Yeah,
so
there are a lot of events in Abu Dhabi. For example, last week I went to Abu Dhabi Sustainability Week, a lot of exhibitions. I was on the exhibition, technological exhibition in Dubai. I mean, a lot of stuff happening, like a lot of exhibitions, especially there are many around like New Year Eve. So a lot of different events, a lot of very interesting speakers. And apart from that, like, I mean, you can always go like to Abu Dhabi downtown or like to the coastline to like, you know, for example, to swim in Persian Gulf. So like you can literally find anything you want. Like it's not a problem. You just like book a taxi and go. So yeah, and this is it, I guess.
great. Thank you. Go ahead, Shahru, as well. It looks like your hand's raised.
Thank you, Healy. Before we move on talking about the life experiences like further, like with accommodation, dormitories, etc., just wanted to quickly ask how you guys, like a question to both of you, how you guys experiencing any competition between yourselves, actually. I mean, in good sense, the competition in terms of projects, working over the projects or some academic experience. Is any such kind of feeling? I know that some of you already said that you have a good collaboration projects, but what about this, true competition in terms of getting good marks and be kind of notable student, having more kind of opportunities to talk and, like usually happening in the school, in the universities?
Okay, so, I mean, of course, there's always like some sort of a competition, and it's more like a psychological question. And I guess there are some competitions that you should put your effort in, and some competitions that you should not put your effort in. But I guess more like plausible question would be is like how exactly you can collaborate and then with other students. And I guess a lot of like people from my standpoint, for the research, it's possible like to form like your own group with some other students who are also interested in the topic, and that will facilitate your research, and you'll get more chances to actually do something great. There are like for example, some homework assignments, they are competitively graded. I mean, I personally liked it. I don't know, as for other students, so there is some objective grade that will be distributed to you based on your performance in the homework assignment. There is a competitive part in that grade, which, for example, like only top 3 teams will get, only top 3 teams that will get like the highest accuracy of your machine learning model, that they will get additional bonus points, something like this. So yeah, there is kind of competitive component. It's not concerning. It's not, I mean, if you're like too concerned about it, for example, you can always like go to professor and speak about it, and I think that it will not be an issue if you are like kind of concerned of it. But a good point, yes, you made like a good point on collaboration. I guess from my perspective, there's a huge opportunity to collaborate with other students. It's possible to find, some partners and like some very, very motivated students who are very hardworking and who are really serious about their research and the amount of time they want to put into research and the amount of effort, and they're very dedicated. And this is, I guess, a huge opportunity for like hardworking and very motivated students, I guess.
Great. Thank you so much for that. Abhishek, do you have anything to add to that from your personal experience?
I think Kirill covered almost everything, but yeah, we definitely like the competitive assignments we had last semester. And like he said, some people were for it, some people were against it, depending on your perspective. But yeah, there's a good spirit of competitiveness in the academics and the projects. At the same time, it brings a good sense of collaboration as well.
Wonderful. Thank you so much for sharing. We have 2 raised hands so far. So I saw Asadella first, so go ahead and then we'll go to Jenith.
Thank you for your sharing. It's very interesting to learn more about the campus and about yourselves and the study background, how it's competitive, but it seems like it's a healthy competition. So I'm kind of excited for the fact that it looks that way. I had a question that is, I'm kind of interjecting because someone mentioned about the societies and clubs in MBZ. So I wanted to know a bit more about what kind of clubs they have. Do they have things like debate? I'm debating and wondering if I can represent the university again, like I did back my bachelor's, and take it more seriously to compete and really put us on the map. People will be like, what is this university? Where did this come from? So I was just wondering, do you have any, if not, I wouldn't mind even establish that. So just want to know more about this debate, English public speaking, these kind of things.
So as for like public speaking, there was, as I said, I visited GTech 2021. It's a technological exhibition at Dubai. And then some of the, and in one of the previous slides, I guess Haley showcased the group of students actually at GTech 2021. They were presenting their AI solution to, I guess it was about it was related, I guess, to speech recognition. And there was a huge crowd watching them presenting this solution in the middle of the Dubai. So it's very possible to have like a good exposure to public speaking. There are also hackathons on which you are also supposed to like kind of build a solution, and then like you are supposed to present it. And especially from my experience, organizers, some of them, they really care about like the presentation part. And so it's not only about your technical solution, it's also for some of them, they really need to showcase your solution to some business people. You need like your way of explanation. So this is as for the public speaking. For the collaboration, I mean, you can collaborate in courses. So for example, almost all homework assignments, except a couple of courses, they are done in a team of like 2-3 people. Like, yes, for example, machine learning courses, computer vision courses, you group up in a team of 3 people and you do all the homework assignments in a team of 2-3 people. You can collaborate for research with other students. You can like just come to someone and ask, hey, are you interested in the topic? Do you want to work with me and try to figure it out? We can try to figure it out together. You can collaborate with students on hackathons, maybe like some other related events. This is as for collaboration. Did I answer your question?
Yeah, but I was more wondering about like a debate competition, like debating with other people in like a formal setup, like there's like British parliamentary and Asian parliamentary debate. So kind of like, like in the parliament.
Yeah, so that thing particularly right now isn't happening here, but there's always an opportunity to start your own club. They are very open about that. So when you're here, then you could definitely try for that. Apart from what like Kirill mentioned, there's a lot of opportunity for public speaking. Even in your assignments and projects, there's poster presentation and video presentations for your work. And obviously the other outer opportunities like hackathons and presentations at events. So yeah, that's about it right now.
Yep, and just to reiterate, Abhishek as well, yeah, there is many opportunities for students to start their own organizations and clubs. So that's definitely something. They want you to be a leader on campus. They want to actually bring in students from around the world who are really going to make the most of their campus experience and provide other opportunities for students. So definitely encourage you to, in your application, highlight your desire to really be representative on campus and really, be an ambassador really for the university in that way. I think that's actually a really unique and exciting thing to promote. So yeah, thank you for the question.
I'll definitely include that. Thank you.
Great. Thank you. Janeth, I know your hand's been raised for a bit, so feel free, go ahead and ask your question.
Yeah, thanks, Haley. Thanks. And my question is actually to the students that in the first semester, like, is it how beginner friendly it is, and or are we expected to have an advanced level of knowledge to carry on the first semester? How is the studies? I mean, from beginner friendly, intermediate, or is it a direct advanced level? So, how difficult or easy for the new students to cope up in the first semester, and how is the or teamwork is encouraged or individual work is more over in practice over there? Just for the info, please.
Okay, so Abhishek, do you want to start?
Yeah, you can go ahead.
Okay, so as for the teamwork or versus individual work, I was taking a course on mathematical foundations for artificial intelligence, and like in the beginning of the course, like the professor said, you are not supposed, even though the homework assignments are independent, you are not supposed to solve them completely on your own. So it's like totally fine like to form a group and try to make discussions within this group. Yeah, so as for the background that you need to have, I mean, I can only comment like from my point. I had not have any issues with first semester, and yeah, so many different students, they have many different backgrounds, but still I don't really know even like a single person who like struggled too much. And also people are open-minded, and as I said, in most courses you are not doing like the homework assignment alone. You're like doing it in a team of like 2-3 people. So it also helps, it also like eliminates this problem of a different background knowledge. Then there are contact hours for lectures, there are contact hours for labs. You can go for contact hours and try to speak with professors, try to ask additional questions. There are TAs, teaching assistants, who can help you, like, to run some snippet of code if you struggle, like set up something. There are just other students like from the previous batches, then you can just like come and ask a question. It's also not a problem. So I wouldn't be scared of that. Yeah.
Yeah, thanks.
Along with that, like how difficult or easy the courses themselves are. So almost every course and the labs begin with the basics of that subject, about the programming part as well as the theoretical things, because there are students coming from different backgrounds. So the faculty definitely wants everyone to be on the same level and start from the same place. So it's very beginner friendly. Apart from that, our student council also does some regular workshops teaching students about the basics of, let's say, Python or PyTorch and things like that.
That's great. Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
Great. Thank you all for your questions. We have a couple questions that came in the chat that I want to make sure we address. One question is, how is the experience in using the facilities on campus for research purposes? That's a great question if one or both of our students would like to answer that.
So I guess this question mainly concerns computational resources. Maybe the author can elaborate on that and be more specific. But for computer resources, there are, let's say, almost like 100 machines, GPU machines, which are available to the students. Of course, there are some policies of how exactly you can use this machine. So it's not like a single student can take over like all of the 100 machines. There are also computational clusters but you need to get access to them. You need to first get approval from your supervisor. So it's also possible to do to get additional computer resources from your supervisor. I mean, apart from that, I believe if you're really making progress conceptually in your work, you're really putting a lot of effort, I believe, and your supervisor is happy with your work, there should be no problem in getting additional computer resource. So I wouldn't worry that also.
Great, thank you for that. Abhishek, did you have anything you wanted to add or?
No, I think Kirill covered everything.
Awesome, great. Another question that got brought in the chat from Mohammed as well is there any outreach program organized by MBZ dedicated for mentoring? So maybe if you all can just share about whether there's any formal or informal processes for mentoring on campus.
Mentoring, I mean, mentoring in what sense? Academic mentoring or like, just like first like accommodation based, or what exactly like the person means when he says mentoring?
Since I'm asking this, maybe I can elaborate a bit about the question. So like previously I've did several outreach program for educating high school students in IT in general. So since MBZ is a institution dedicated for AI, like is there any outreach programs that been done, like exposure program about AI to maybe undergraduate students, or maybe I don't know, maybe any organization like mentoring on what are your knowledge on AI, and kind of give like educating them about AI.
So as far as I know, there was a news like 5 or 6 months ago that MBZUAI partnered with some probably with middle schools. It was like very big headline, it was partnership between MBZUAI and Ministry of Education of UAE, if I'm not mistaken. And basically, I'm not sure about the content, but it was something about like related to teaching AI fundamentals to middle school students, probably something like this. But it was like 5-6 months ago, so I don't really remember the details. But yeah, I think you can just it's also you need to be initiative, like, and you can start your own initiative, and I don't think anyone will go against this initiative. And I mean, there is a lot of interest into learning AI, and as it was highlighted by Haley in the first slides, I don't think there will be any problem for that. But as far as I know, that was like a big partnership between MBZUAI and Ministry of Education. I don't know, maybe Haley, you can check this one.
Yeah, thank you for sharing that. I definitely know that there have been students who have been really excited to work with specific faculty members, and they've even indicated that in their applications. And there's definitely, to my knowledge, been some really great mentoring that's been happening between professors and students. And then I also know with the graduate student councils and the older cohorts, there have definitely been kind of mentoring relationships that have been established between current students and students who are kind of coming into the university. So I think that as the beauty of this school being very community cohort based, I think there's a lot of experiences happening there that kind of flow and happen organically, which has been a really great experience. But thank you for those questions. We just have a couple minutes left, so I want to see if others have any burning questions that they would like to ask about anything. We have a couple additional questions we can ask, but of course, would always prefer to have your questions answered. Asadella, please go ahead.
Can you allow me a second question? Just feel that.
Of course, yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Thank you so much. Learning a lot about the faculties and the opportunities offered. This whole session has been very insightful. I wanted to know a bit more about collaborations with other universities in other countries. You mentioned a bit about how you have this partnership with MIT. Can you possibly share more about any research projects that you collaborated with overseas or large scale collaborations between the lecturers, perhaps, that you can disclose to us or highlight to us?
Yeah, I'll see if either our students want to try to address that question first, and then of course I'll add some thoughts that I have on as well. So Abhishek or Kirill, if you want to add anything first.
So as for collaborations, it's not that like easy to set them up, because it takes a lot of time. Even though like they are announced, it's still a lot of financial aspects that needs to be handled, and they are actually like being handled right now. We have like weekly research seminars in which professors by very different institutions like all over the world, they come or join us remotely, and like we have a lecture from them. I think it's publicly available through the MBZUAI website. So for now, the biggest collaborator is, I guess, I can't say it's the biggest collaborator, but the easiest collaborator is TII, which is Technology Innovation Institute, which is like only 200 meters away from MBZUAI. And in fact, one of the professors listed in the previous slides, Dr. Mlrussia, she's chief researcher from TII, and it's possible to make an internship at TII. TII, it's only like research institution. Like it's not, there are like no masters, no PhDs. It only like does research and kind of tries to apply research in industry. So I think for now this is the main research collaborator. So as I mentioned, yeah, there is some agreement with MIT, there is some agreement with Weizmann Institute of Technology, but for now, and as Provost Dr. Fakhreddin Kari said, it's in progress. There are some financial details and organizational details that needs to be handled, but the faculty said to us that they're planning to reach agreement on like different exchange semesters, exchange students, and probably bring some faculty members, like exchange faculty members between the institutions. Yes.
Thank you so much, Kirill. Interesting.
Abhishek, anything you want to add, or just want to give you a chance to speak if you'd like?
Yeah, apart from TII, there's lots of partnership, academic and research partnership with IIE as well, which is like neighbor to our campus, and a lot of professors have partnerships with them about ongoing projects. And like Kirill said, that it takes some time to establish such partnerships. And apart from these, there are a lot of MOU being signed by the university with industry, including G42 and different companies dealing with Abu Dhabi government right now.
Awesome. Thank you for adding all those great points. Just one thing I'll add as well is there's a lot of really exciting research labs and initiatives happening on campus where there's faculty and students and even outside entities that will get involved in those. Anyone who has registered, I'll be sending out a follow-up email with obviously the recording, but some resources. And one of them will just be a list of just a few of the research labs and initiatives that are happening, so you can kind of see some of the collaborations that are also taking place there. So hopefully that will be a helpful resource for you as well, as you're kind of looking at all the opportunities at MBZ. We're coming up at the end of our time here, so I just want to close with one more question for both of our current students. Again, I don't think this will be a really shocking question for anybody, but would love just to hear from any or both of you as current students who just any advice you would have for someone or prospective students who are joining us today or who are watching online, who are a little bit unsure or nervous to apply. What would you tell them to encourage them to submit their application?
I think I could start. So I tried not to worry much about like formal requirements. I heard like a couple people ask questions about language certificates. Like you can always message admission at mbzui.ac.ae, I hope, and like explain them the situation. Yeah, so I wouldn't worry much about the dates. And I think like for us, there were like a couple of students who were submitting their language certificates even after they were admitted. So like, just like, don't worry much about it. Drop an email to admission team, wait for their response. Yeah. And overall, like, just like, don't worry about the documentation. I mean, everything on the website. And if you just go to admission team and explain your situation, I think they will get in touch with you and they will solve your problem and you'll find some solution.
Awesome. Abhishek, anything else you'd like to add as we wrap up for today?
Yes, so there's no need to be intimidated about applying because obviously it's a free application with a huge scholarship and coming with the program. And to make out a good application, just put out everything you have, any activity or achievement you've been part of, whether it's big or small, just put out everything ahead. And yeah.
Great. Thank you both so much. Thank you for all the great advice and suggestions for our prospective students. Again, for anyone tuning in, again, I really encourage you to go ahead and start your application at mbzuai.ac.ae. You can do that today. I will be sending a follow-up email to everyone who registered with the recording, as well as a bunch of resources. One note that came in the chat was about the entry exam requirements. And again, I'll be sending out a guide with some resources there. And lots of things for you to consider and look at, including faculty profiles and a detailed curriculum guide. So again, check out all those resources when I send that out shortly, but hope you have a great rest of your day or your evening, wherever you're joining us in the world. And again, a huge thank you to our current students for joining us and sharing all their really great advice. We'll be hosting a few more sessions in February, so stay tuned for that. But until then, please feel free to reach out to Shahru, CC, or I, depending on your region, for any questions. And we're excited to help you submit your applications. So thank you all so much. Hope you have a great evening and hopefully we'll see you soon. Thank you, everyone. Have a great one. Thanks so much.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thanks.
Thank
Bye.
you, everybody.
Have a good day.
Bye-bye.